is doing, but we're playing. Anyways, we're going to start.
I'm like right in the
Thank you. Thank you for coming. We started these Bridge and Gap meetings last year for the first time, and we had one every month. And we had a huge group the first day, and then by month May, it was like one person. So we're hoping that we can continue these on throughout the year and have topics that will interest you and keep you coming and keep the triangle together between homeschool and
if there's something you guys would like to have for a topic discussed at one of these, shoot us an email and let us know. I'm wondering about this, maybe something you guys can come up with.
Oh, it's following you. It followed you.
Yeah, because it's you.
Oh, so you can see it. So it's going to work. But she's got to be the main person. Sorry. This also is helping us on Friday where we're doing a Google Hangout on air with a DU lab professor for evolutionary biologist and her TAs in their lab. So in science, the kids are going to be doing one of these. And we're trying to figure out thank you. You sound like very great.
Sorry, I gotta move away. Everybody who's watching this is gonna be like, what is happening right now?
Computers in the room. Okay, so today the piece is about the work habits versus content and the 4-3-2-1 grading scale. Are you familiar with work habits versus content grade? Is that something in elementary school that you saw the difference between the two?
No.
Okay, so we have 2 grades for every single class. We have a work habits grade and a content grade. The work habits grade, we have 3 pieces that we have as a team said that we are going to have on our work habits piece, and that's participation, behavior, and homework assignments. So they will be getting a 4-3-2-1, which we'll explain in just a second, based upon how much they participate in class, their group collaboration piece, how much their behavior is impacting their learning, or positively or negatively, and as well as their homework. Are they turning it in? Are they getting it done? Are they staying on task and things like that?
And for some of us, you'll see those 3, but you'll also see others.
Right.
It might not just be those 3.
But those are the 3 that we will have in common. So yes, so the work habits piece is really how are they doing as a middle school student, or how are they doing as a student in general, and are they meeting the expectations of where they should be at this time frame for their development. The content grade is the piece where the state standards come in and the curriculum comes in. And are they meeting 6.2? Are they meeting 5.3 or whatever it is that they're trying to meet for the standard? Are they able to meet those standards, and at what point are they meeting those standards? So if they have a project, perhaps they have 3 grades on that project, and that's 3 different standards they're trying to meet. And so those 3 grades will be in the grade book. That's the content piece. The content you should see, what's the word I'm looking for? Correlation, thank you. Correlation between content and work habits. If their work habits are high, their content should be high. If their work habits are low, most likely their content will be low, but that's not always the case. Some kids are just don't want to do the work, but they really know the content.
And some kids on the on the reverse side work super hard, and they try so hard, but the content is very difficult for them. So they might not show that through content.
Kind of doing a side track here, during our first conferences that we have, September 24th and 25th, that will be our primary focus, is those work habits piece. How is your student doing as a 7th grade student, and how are those work habits impacting their grades? There will be a couple content pieces from different parts of our classes, but primarily that's where we're headed for that. It's really weird. For that piece. Oh.
I'm just trying to get a better angle.
It's all questions on content versus work habits.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the work habits, do you, as teachers, give them like a weekly work habit grade for the participation homework?
So it depends on the teacher.
That's how I do it.
Yeah.
It's actually bi-weekly, although I just put my first ones in because the first 2 weeks were still getting to know and everything.
Yeah.
But I just put the first, it's got a work habits grade for homework and behavior and participation in there, covering really the first 3 weeks of my math class, but it should be every other week after this.
Okay.
And the nice thing about middle school is it's supposed to be our most current evidence. So if they start out the school year and, I mean, they have missed every single homework assignment, they're not participating, and they're just not being a student right now. But by the end of the quarter, they've just grown so much, and they're turning in their homework, and they're participating. It's a fluid grade. So that those first grades aren't really going to impact their final grade.
Okay.
As long as at the end of this quarter, wow, we're seeing a student that really is being a student and knowing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's a fluid grade.
And realize that at the end of each quarter, you'll get a letter grade based on all those 1, 2, 3s, and 4s from out. And that's true of content also.
Right.
And the same thing she said, our content grades are supposed to be based on the most recent and most comprehensive. And like I'm giving these short little quizzes this week to my regular kids, my accelerated kids took one last week. And I said, this is a small grade. Right now, it's the only grade in my accelerated classes in the content. So that's your grade in math right now. But it doesn't really mean much because you're going to take some more small quizzes and then you'll take bigger tests. And the comprehensive stuff counts the most towards showing you really understand the content.
And that's, yeah, I'm a little nervous because their first content grade for me is going to look very low, but it's their first content grade. So please don't be surprised if they have a 2 on their first reflection. They will have 1 or 2 more that are going to be weighted so much greater than that first one. Because I think sometimes you see a 2 and you're like, you're not cutting it, kid. What's happening? Go in and talk to the teacher. Whereas we have these conversations and we talk and we conference with the kids and say, okay, this is what you started with. Now how can we improve upon it so that you are at a 3 or you are at a 4? So we just, there's a difference there too, because I'm looking at, for example, their reflections right now. And this is the first reflection they've ever had to do in middle school. A lot of them are at a 2, which is okay, because they have inconsistently, they're progressing towards the standards, they're not quite there, but by the end of the quarter, that's going to be weighted so much more. I'm sure more of them are going to be at a 3 or a 4. So I just want to put that out there.
So again, the comprehensive piece, it gets harder and harder, and as it gets harder, it's worth more. Yeah. Which brings us to the 4, 3, 2, 1 grading scale. And I know that you had, because my child's in elementary school as well, so I know they use the 4, 3, 2, 1 grading scale in elementary school. So the 4 is exceeding expectations. A 4 is above and beyond the standard, exceeding. I mean, way up there. It's very rare that students earn 4s. It's not the norm. It's not like your student is doing anything wrong if they're not earning a 4. It's above and beyond.
Yeah, they almost have said that it's like above grade level.
Above grade level. A 3 is meeting expectations. They are A-OK. They are right where they should be. They're meeting grade level expectations. They're meeting the expectations of the teacher. There is nothing wrong with that grade. The reason the parents freak out about the 3 is because when you get your grade report at the end of the quarter, it says a B, and you're thinking, I want an A. And a B it's a 3, and it means something very different than what it meant when we were in school. It means that they're meeting grade level expectations. They are right where a 7th grader should be. They're right on target. They're doing fine. A 2 means that they're inconsistent. They're inconsistent. They're working towards meeting that expectation. They're trying. There's things that
they're making progress.
They're making progress, and they're learning. They have some gaps or things that they need to work on. So it's inconsistent, but they're working towards it. If your student earns a 1, that's when there should be a red flag. Like, ooh, put on the brakes. They're not even working towards meeting expectations. And a 1 in the grade book would be a D. But in reality, if you look at it as we look at grades when we went to school, it's an F. It means your student doesn't understand the material. They're not meeting expectations. They're not working towards meeting expectations. There's something wrong. So we have those individual conversations with the students when they earn a 1, and we will sit down and we will make accommodations and we will have interventions and things like that in the classroom. But if you see that your student, your child has consistently earned 1s on things, that's a huge red flag for you. That's something that you'd think, whoa, no, I have another chance to make that up. They may very well, but they need some help. They need some intervention from us and from you. So that's kind of like, yeah.
Part of teaching in a standard-based district is also we have to show kids, or we have to allow kids multiple opportunities to demonstrate proficiency on the standards. In some cases, that means we'll let them redo some things. make sure your kids know that if they're allowed to redo an assignment or a quiz or a test, to take advantage of that opportunity. And if they have a 2 the first time, yeah, why not go in and try to show that you really do know it at 7th grade level instead of being satisfied with, oh, I got a 2. Or especially in the case of a 1. A 1 really means you're not making progress. You're not showing us that you've learned anything. So if we give you a second shot or a second quiz or a chance to redo a project or something like that, take advantage of it. It amazes me when kids don't come in to redo quizzes or won't redo a project or won't rewrite a paper when they're given that opportunity. It's like,
And
come on.
I think to add to that, it's important to realize that while Mike has said that you need to intervene and we need to intervene, they also need to be responsible. And that's up to them to come to us and ask to retake something, or what do they need to do, because with 190 kids, it's very difficult to keep track of every single kid who's got to redo something. And so that's why it's really important for them to be responsible for themselves. And they know what they got. They
get the paper
they
back.
get it back. We grade it together. We look at it. We go over it. So they know exactly what they've gotten. And if they know there's an opportunity to redo that, like Larry said, they should be the ones to come and ask to do that.
And along with that is, don't let them wait until the end of the quarter.
Yeah, for me,
I'm
I actually have a
guessing that
time
most of you
limit.
that are here today are the kind of parents who are looking on the portal and assessing. So if you see your kids' grades drop, you're going to have those conversations. But at the end of each quarter, we get emails from kids and emails from parents. What can my kid do to make up this grade the day before grades are due for us?
Nothing.
Well, at this point,
Nothing.
there's not much. That project that you turned in on the second week of September, maybe you should have the conversation, that
In
week.
September.
And we usually give time frames on that. Like you
You
have
do.
2 weeks to make up this work or to redo this work. And after that, we just can't keep grading endlessly until the end of the quarter. We have to move on. So, and the kids will get in a hole. If they wait and try to redo everything the last 3 weeks of school, you're not going to have a happy camper at home because they'll be really stressed, which will make you really stressed.
And that's the other thing to occur. We tell kids this all the time. If you find yourself slipping, okay, come and have a conversation. We'll help you develop a plan for getting back to where you need to be. Don't wait, and don't let it, you're going to go, oh, well, if I ignore it, it's going to go away. No, if you ignore it, it's going to get worse. So please, as soon as things aren't happening the way you want them to happen, come and talk to us and let us help you work on some strategies for getting back where you need to be.
I'm new here, and this grading system is really bizarre to me. I'm used to 100%,
Yeah.
I know.
and
Well, you'll go
so
back to that in just 2 short years.
Say they're given a test or a project and they miss one question. Does that put them in a 3?
It depends on the project. It depends on the content. It depends on what they're being assessed. If it's one question and it was a very low-level question, but they got the really high-level question right, obviously that's going to negate that they screwed up, something happened, they didn't do that right. But
So
this,
it's just 4, 3, 2, 1. It's not 3.5.
Well,
Technically, we're not supposed to.
Let's talk off of the Google Hangout on air, and we'll talk.
there are teachers that are known to give half grades.
I'm behind
a
the scenes
2.5
thing,
or a 3.5,
Right.
and sometimes that happens.
I will write on kids' papers 3+ or a 3-. And when your child gets their first quiz back, I explain the system. It never shows up in Infinite Campus. You won't see it.
Uh-huh.
You'll see a 3. You don't know whether the kid barely met the standard or was just almost close enough to give them that 4 and say he really exceeded the standard. Well, but I like to differentiate, so I handwrite that in my grade book. And then at the end of the quarter, when I'm going through grades, and I'll have a conference with your child and say, okay, let's look at your grades. What do you think you deserve? And I'll let them give themselves a grade. But most of the time, they can look at it rationally and they go, oh, I really deserve the 3. I didn't quite get to the 4 level. Or, oh, a 2, or whatever. And it's like they're usually harder on themselves than I am. And those pluses and minuses come in. Yeah, okay, you had 4s and you had 3s. But look at all your 3s. They were 3+. You just barely missed a 4 on that particular thing. But on this big comprehensive test, you got a 4. I think you deserve a 4, even if the computer is averaging them out and saying you got a 3. Because there's a scale that's set inside the Infinite Campus gradebook That's not how you do standards-based grading. You base it on most comprehensive and most recent. And so we can have those discussions of, yeah, and I'm trying to get kids to advocate for themselves. And to recognize, well, okay, I got a 2 on that one little quiz, but everything else was all 4s. I really think I deserve a 4. Yeah, I messed up. I had a bad day. I had a cold. I was gone for 2 days before I took that quiz, whatever. But look, I know this material is solid. I really know this at a 4 level, or I really know it's solid. I know it at a 3 level. And I want kids to start recognizing that too and analyzing their own learning and taking responsibility for it.
And for rubrics, it is based on a 4, 3, 2, 1. So any projects that we're giving, they have a rubric, and so they know right away. I could show you one right now.
So to piggyback on her while she's looking for that, so if they have a project, which we do a lot of projects on this team, they have a rubric before the project begins. And it says, this is what you need to do to get a 4. This is what you need to do to get a 3. This is what will happen if you do. If you do these things, you'll earn a 2. And so they have those before the project begins, so they know what we're looking for.
Yeah, and so it'll say exceeds, meets, and progressing towards. Like, a lot of times we don't even have the 1 because if they're not doing it, they're well aware. We're having lots of talks about them not doing it. So this is
So
just an
they
example.
want that exceeds, they just go through that
They need
whole
to
list
look
and
through. Yep.
all that.
Yep, and they know
Yeah.
each time.
And they know, so, I mean, oftentimes when you have a project and you have them grade themselves first, and they'll look at the rubric and they'll go, yep, I have it too. And you go back and you're like, yeah, you do. But they're well aware of what they have earned. They're pretty honest.
Yeah.
7th grade, they're pretty honest about their grades.
7th grade. Yeah.
7th grade. Have fun next
They're
year.
harder on themselves than we are most of the time. Well, and it's like, no, you know it. Don't be afraid to say, I know it. Any questions about
Yeah.
content or work habits grade? Just so you also know, there is no D in work habits grades at the end of the quarter. You get an A, B, C, or a U. And the U stands for unsatisfied.
And then there's A, B, C, D, I for content. We don't want
The
I's.
I stands for insufficient evidence. It means we can't even tell whether you are making progress or aren't making progress. You haven't done enough for us to give you any kind of grade. It really means we can't give you a grade.
That's happened. I think we gave 3 out last year, and it's usually when the student is gone for an extended period
6
of
weeks.
time for whatever reason, like they're not in the classroom for 6 weeks out of the 9. I don't have enough to really go off. So.
Or they do nothing. And that has
happens
happened.
occasionally, but most of the time we're contacting you if that's really the case.
And you know that I's coming.
I have a question in particular about math. When you do quizzes and tests, do the kids have an opportunity, so you said you review it and they see the actual test. Is there a expectation that they will make corrections and turn those back in?
I'll give you an example. My regular classes are taking a quiz on adding and subtracting integers today or tomorrow when they have me. And their homework was, there's a practice quiz in the textbook. It's the same format, the same kinds of questions, everything, and we'll go over those before they take the real quiz. Now, on these small quizzes, I won't give them a chance to redo it, but they still have to know adding and subtracting integers when they take the unit test. If they show me they know it then, we can kind of say, well, you really do know it now. You did when I did that little check. These are progress checks, these little quizzes. Okay. And as far as redoing a bigger test, I will
And
have
I'm not
to-
even worried so much about redoing it. I'm wondering, is the expectation that you got this test back, you need to make the test corrections?
I give them their test back and I say, this stuff will be on the test. And we'll
Okay.
go over the questions.
So
I don't go over all of them unless they ask me. I'll go over, while I was grading them last night, here's the question that most people missed. If kids were missing 1 or 2, these are where I saw common errors. And I'll go over it that way with them. And then I'll ask them, are there any other ones you want me to go over to find out what the answer is? And most of the time, they will say no, but sometimes, yeah, kids will say, yeah, show me number 4 because I missed it and I don't know why I missed it. So, but yes, I would expect them to fix those mistakes and to know it better. And I also tell them after I hand back the quiz, if you didn't get a 3 or 4 on this, if you got a 1 or a 2, you should be coming in the mornings and talking with me and let's go over it. Let's find out what's going on inside your head, where it's going wrong. And I'm available every morning. I can stay after school. I don't always stay after school, so they can't just drop in after school. But if they need to come after school, they need to say, can I come Thursday after school, hang out for a while and do some math? And I'll say, sure. Or no, let's do it some other time.
Any other questions?
Yes, we don't just forget it and move on. 'Cause
Well, I think that
that's
was
one of
the
those things.
challenges with elementary school. I think there's so much to do. I don't know that, and this has been my experience with all my kids, is that I don't know that we spend a lot of time in this district or whatever going back and saying, did we really master this? Like, we get graded on it, but we move right on. I feel like when
And-
you were growing up,
And
corrected paragraphs.
you're gonna have to know integers
Yeah.
to do algebra or to do anything else that comes up. And so, yeah, we're gonna have to, now, there reaches a point where we have to move on, but I still want you coming in and asking questions and let's get you caught up. Because, yeah, in math, it's
A lot of student ownership, especially in the 7th grade. They've got to take a lot of ownership. I mean, we're here to help and support and to identify, but they really do have to take that ownership piece on right now.
It's always a learning experience for the 7th graders. They don't really understand that they don't have to stand down there in the commons. If they get here at 7:05, they can come down here. They can come down here and ask questions and do work. And I've already had 8th graders from our team last year in my room in the mornings working on a couple of things, just because they know it's a nice, quiet place. Well, our 7th graders haven't really gotten to know us yet and realize it.
Yeah.
They're scared. They're still scared at this point. But they will.
And I do
They'll-
have to
they'll
tell you
pick it
guys, I forgot to let the parents know this. One thing that we're talking about is effective communication, and so I was telling the kids, I said, all year, in every class, you guys have to listen, and there's a difference. You guys are lucky. You're born with hearing. You're not born with listening. And that's a skill that we have to constantly work on. So I would love to have you guys kind of talk about that with your kids and say, hey, what does it mean to actively listen? I know, because we've all talked about it, some things that they can do to make sure that they're active listeners.
And as a parent, I'm sure you've never experienced
I know.
that when your kids didn't hear what you said.
So we're really, and that's something that I think we're all trying to work on, is connecting with each of our classes so they do master it. So, and I know that if, Larry's
It's
talking about, proportions, we're going to be working on it in iLab.
on Mondays, we talk about what we're doing for the week in our classes so that we do have it and we can tie things together. And she said, well, I'm really going to work on active listening this week. And we all went, yeah!
Actually, I think you said, what?
Yeah, you did.
Probably did, but it was still that thing where they could work on early in the year was that piece. So we're all trying to bring it up and model what it looks like and explain why it's important.
So to help with that mastery too, is we're really trying to connect, especially this year, all of our contents together so that if they're struggling on a concept, that we hit upon it multiple times so that they, at some point in the year, get it.
We have about 5 minutes left. Are you sure? Questions about anything? Do you just wonder what's going on?
Do you have any ideas? I mean, we have a list of ideas generated for these Bridging the Gap meetings, but do you have any ideas of things that you'd like us to hit on in the next?
Can I mention one thing just because it's already popped up in my class and Ms. Grissom's class? We're going through our list of the kids who have signed up and who haven't signed up for field trips because we have several coming up. And some of the kids say, well, I told them yesterday, pull out your phone. If you're not signed up for the Corn Maze field trip yet, text your parents right now. Just a reminder. And then immediately I have kids say, well, my mom says she already signed up. It's like, okay, fine. We get a list from our bookkeeper that says these kids aren't signed up.
I know one of the issues is that I went through that first day and signed up for all of them, but
Yeah.
I didn't pay for them yet.
And then new ones have popped up.
And they all disappeared. So you couldn't sign
That's
up for
fun.
them.
Thank
if
you for
didn't
telling us
pay.
that because I didn't know. And
So I
I
went
think
through
that's-
all those forms from the year and figured, oh, they'll just show up and I can pay them one at a time.
That's good
Because
to
I was a
know.
little overwhelmed by all the money
Yeah, yeah.
and all the field trips. I can tell
Yeah.
you. I was like, oh, 7-4. Like, we love you, but
Yeah.
holy moly.
Well, yeah, luckily they're not all the same.
They
week.
aren't. But
Yeah,
so
thank
that's
God.
why I thought I was being proactive. Like, okay, I'm going to just
Oh,
register.
yeah.
So
Thank
that
you for
did-
letting
And there are some that aren't on there still.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
But
there are
okay,
more coming.
So the thing
Every time I
is,
pick this up to your
They're the
phone,
cheap
like,
ones, though.
we were super excited.
They're the cheap ones.
We were super excited though because we like to take field trips. One, because we love the experiential learning with the kids and they love it and they just take so much from it. But this year they changed the bus fees, and so as soon as they lowered those, we're like, we can take more. So sorry.
The bus fees-
We made up for
the
that.
bus fees
Yeah.
are pretty outrageous.
Yes.
They were
I mean,
$14
just for the bus.
$14.
Well, we're paying for it now. Paying for busing.
No,
Well,
that
That's
was with
the
that.
buses
With
with
it.
field trips.
With the field trips themselves, you were also paying for busing, and they were also paying $14 per field trip for a bus for one kid. So that's changed.
It was
And I think, rumor has it that our iLab team of students cracked that open last year.
That's right.
I could be. Yeah.
Well,
we had kids
Off the
interviewing,
record.
we had kids
Yeah.
last year interviewing the director of transportation and saying, why is it so expensive and can you explain? And they went out and
Yeah.
researched how much charter buses would cost and compared that. It was
and
really a
contacted
powerful rate.
district people, and they're like, well, we'll listen to you because you're a student. And
So.
And lo and behold,
And when they realized how much money they were making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
lo and behold, the rates changed. It was great. I allowed work. So.
I also think you can't, and that's one of the things with RevTrack, is you can't tell if you did sign up. Like if you kept your receipt that said,
And there's another place, though, I believe you can go to the Infinite Campus portal and go to the fees tab, and I think it will show that you paid
it shows the
$750 or
required
whatever.
fees. I think.
You can
I- but I think it-
Does it show on-
I'm sorry, this is
Go to RevTrack.
You can find it in RevTrack also.
History
You have to
or.
pull up each.
Okay.
You have to pull up each state.
Well, I knew that I signed up right when school
And
started.
I had and just so you know, I had a student yesterday, I said, okay, it says on this list you haven't paid yet. He texted mom said I did. He pulled it up on his phone and showed me on his phone the receipt.
Well, and
So
I
it's like,
have the
I'll check
receipt
you out,
with
you're
my
good.
kid, so it's in his little.
Yeah,
And I've had a couple parents print out things. And
which
so-
is great,
And encourage your kids.
because we don't have a clue.
Right.
We just go off our
Can't see
list.
as- Yeah,
And
as
that's it.
teachers, we can't see.
So we
It's
just
not
keep
a
sending
friendly
emails.
system.
No,
No.
it is awful.
User-friendly.
Yeah.
It is not a friendly system, RevTrack.
Not a friendly system. Bad system.
Ellie Faust said that.
Oh, wait. Don't throw me under the bus. Ha get it?
Oh, that's
She might have
Well,
done.
technology is great, except for when it's not, and then it's horrible. We're still fumbling with the newer version of our grade book.
I think we have another question back there.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to know if you guys had all your interviewers.
We, right now, I have 20 interviewers, which is awesome, because usually we only have 18, but whoever wants to do it, I don't care. It just makes it go much faster. So if you want to interview, talk to me right after this, and I'll have you come in. But, yeah.
So if we signed up, just show up.
No, I'm sending out an email today. I just wanted to wait to make sure, because I've already had people cancel. So I just want to know who's coming and who's not. And I sent an email to every parent who I got their email. And then I found out this morning that a kid, one of their dads, could not email me for whatever reason. So I didn't even know about him. And so whatever, I mean, as far as, hopefully everybody's gotten a personal email from me who's coming. And if not, then it's an email issue. Then I don't even know about you, not you. So
That you've already sent.
no, that one I sent those to a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. But the email that I'm sending today is to those parents I've already emailed. So maybe you should see me after class. After.
Can
Yeah.
I ask you guys a question? Are you getting inundated by school district and team stuff? Is it too much? Is it good information? Okay.
I like the weekly.
Because wait till your kids get to the high school and the counseling department over there at the high school, they send out 12 a week.
We just sent out one.
Some of them will apply and some of them won't. And
Well,
so
one is a team, and then you might get some individuals.
we want to communicate with all of you as much as we can and give you the information you need to know, but we also don't want it to become one of these, another school email, blah, 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 bitches. And
No,
we don't want to get
I'd
to
rather
that point.
get the info than not.
Okay.
I do like when you guys put your emails on the bottom, because you know your first instinct is to do like reply. You can't reply to it.
Okay.
Because it's a no reply. So when
Yeah.
the emails are just on there, for some reason, yours never comes
You
up.
have to set it up, and I don't have mine set up like that either. You have to set it up to
I
put your
haven't
email
seen
at the bottom.
mine.
Mine is not on there.
Okay, she'll show us how to do it.
I can do it.
Email
I,
address on
Oh, you
the
know how to do it? I
How
don't know.
lazy am I that I don't want to go to
once you get it into Google, it will always come up if you type Michelle Grissom.
It's not my email.
Well, I'm
If you're
Yahoo.
in-
I have Yahoo. It's the same thing.
If you're in Google Mail.
But even any email.
In the interest of time,
Yeah.
we're going to honor your time and
Just
honor
type
our
my
time because
name.
we have to plan for the kids that are coming here in about 25 minutes. One thing that you just brought up, and I was meaning to say, and I'm going to send an email out, it's probably in your best interest to get a Gmail account because your kids all have Gmails, and just because you can go on and they can share documents with you so you can actually see what they're doing. And so if they share their information and their projects with you and what they're doing with classes and collaborating, all of their documents, not all, but a lot of their documents are on Google Docs. And if you have access to that being on a Gmail account, I mean, don't give it out to anybody. I mean, if you just don't want another Gmail, I get that. But if you just have one, there's so many things you can do with it just with your student, but just with your child. Just might be a really good thing.
I like the story that you told last year about how you got to see your daughters.
Oh, so my little girl, she, because I'm in district, she can email me from school. If you're not at school, you can't email anybody outside of district. So she'll email me, but she emails me all of her projects while she's doing them, and so I can pull it up live, not while I'm teaching at lunch, but I'll pull it up live and I watch her type. And then last year I saw another student on there with her and they kept deleting her work. And so I quickly put in a comment, tell whoever it is to stop deleting your work and go tell your teacher right now. And she freaked out because she's like, there's something on my computer. And so she took it to her teacher and she's like, okay, that's your mom. And who's deleting your work? You know, so they figured it out really fast. I'm not saying to be that parent like I was, but I was like,
Don't be crazy like Micah.
Yeah. But now she shared something with me just recently, and I just wrote, this is really good work, or, you know, I just gave her a comment on it. And you can do that too if they've shared a document with you. So it's nice. I'm not that crazy. It was just, I'm like, get that girl a document. So that's it.
Anything else you guys were wondering about? Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
for
thank you for
Thank
coming.
you guys for coming.